Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video presents the concepts of confidence intervals and confidence levels and describes how best to interpret them. Let's get started. The confidence interval, also known as an interval estimate, is simply a range or an interval of values used to estimate the true value of a population parameter. Of course, the point estimate will provide the center for that range or interval, and then we run a calculation to figure out how far away from that center value we go to describe the min and max values for our interval, and that's where the confidence level is going to come in. Now, confidence intervals are sometimes called interval estimates, as I just said a moment ago. Sometimes we use CI as an abbreviation for confidence interval. So if in future mini lectures you hear me talking about a CI, you'll know I'm talking about a confidence interval. Now, confidence level is simply the probability that the confidence interval actually does contain the population parameter. We often express this confidence level as 1 minus alpha, where alpha is the significance level that we've already seen in previous mini lectures. Now, this definition of confidence level assumes that the estimation process is repeated a large number of times. And we also have some other names for confidence level, which include degree of confidence and confidence coefficient. But confidence level or level of confidence is by far the most common name for this concept. Most common choices are 90%, 95%, and 99%. What I would say, as I've said before, your significance level of 5%, far and away the most widely significance level that's selected. Well, accordingly, 95% is the most common choice for a confidence level. How do we interpret confidence intervals? Well, there's really one correct interpretation and many different and creative incorrect interpretations. Students and people who are not really well versed in statistics often come up with these different and creative incorrect interpretations. So let's set the record straight. How do we correctly interpret a confidence interval? Well, to illustrate that, suppose we have a proportion confidence interval that runs from 0.828 to 0.872 based on a sample size of 1007. So what this means is that we're 95% confident, if we're using a 95% confidence level, that the interval from 0.828 to 0.872 actually contains the true value of the population proportion. The true value is somewhere inside that interval. We're 95% sure of it. Another way to say this would be if we were to select many different samples from the population, and each of those samples had the size of 1007, we construct corresponding confidence intervals. 95% of those intervals, based on those different samples, would actually contain the true value of the population proportion. Now, we can use confidence intervals informally to compare different data sets, but it's never a good idea to use overlapping confidence intervals in making formal and final conclusions about the equality of proportions. The reason for that is we're going to discover a little while later in future mini lectures when we start talking about hypothesis testing on proportions. And hypothesis testing on proportions is more sure than constructing confidence intervals on proportions. And so for this reason, confidence intervals are not preferred for making formal and final conclusions about the equality of proportions. We leave that to the hypothesis testing. And as I said, we'll discuss that in future mini lectures. And that brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.